Hi, welcome to Real World Riding. I'm Steve. Just made this short video just to give you some advice on some basic tools that you might want to take with you when you're out riding, whatever sort of riding you want to do, things that will help you get out of most common situations. This isn't a massive how-to video, so if you want to know how to fix brakes, etc., there's lots of videos on YouTube for that and other places as well, I'm sure. But this is what tools you might want to take. Towards the end, I'll make sure that you know how to make sure that you've got the tools set up right, and I'll also cover what to do if you get a puncture as well. So if you want to watch to the end, I'll cover that too. But this is it. Pretty basic video. Let's get cracking, shall we?
So here's the basic stuff that I recommend you should take with you. So we have a multi-tool, we have a set of tyre levers. Quite often they come in threes, but you really should only ever need two. A pump. Now this is a fancy one, but any kind of pump that will do. Anything that pumps up the tyres, connects to your valve, that'll do you. That's absolutely fine. And an inner tube, and I recommend that anybody carries a spare inner tube. So all I'm going to do over the next few minutes is just go through each of these items and give you a little bit more detail about them and their use. First up is the multi-tool. This is it's only got 10 tools on it, so it's relatively small, it's relatively light, relatively cheap. It's a bike specific one. It doesn't come from your average supermarket. That makes it more robust and it's likely to last as well. It also means that the tools are made from a better quality of material, so that they won't round off so much. It costs a little bit more than your average supermarket one, but not that much more, and it's well worth it. And we've got everything here. We've got hex keys down here, from attaching your pedals through to moving your brakes on your bars. Some smaller ones, smaller hex keys, a couple of screwdrivers and a Torx key, and the Torx keys are quite useful these days. You tend to find those on a lot of bikes. So one multi-tool, not too much to cost, stick it in a pocket, leave it there, fantastic. Okay, you can deal with all the adjustments you're going to need to do as a basic stuff there. Okay, multi-tool, got it. I'm bought in a tube. Okay, so these differ in a number of different ways. First things first, make sure that you know what size inner tubes or tyres or wheels you've got on your bike when you're going to buy these, so that you'll get the right size. And I'll give you a wee demonstration on this one here. You can probably see, so this is designed for a 26-inch wheel, and the size of the tyre is 2.2 to 2.5, so it's fairly large, old style mountain biking tyre. Now this 1.2 millimeters is just the thickness of the rubber. So what you want to do is you want to get the diameter right and think about the thickness as well. Now that's 26. Normally tell people go for the big number. You might have 700C or something like that, or 27.5. Okay, that's your wheel size. So try and match that as best you can. Okay, you might need some help when you buy your bike. Ideally, if you're buying a bike new, then whoever's selling it to you will be able to sort you out with that. But it should be written on your tyres as well. So just check your tyres before you go to buy an inner tube. Another thing you want to do is check what sort of valves you've got. Okay, these are the two main sorts of valves. Okay, this is the same as a car tyre. Okay, this is a Schrader and this is a Presta valve. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to call them skinny and chubby. Okay, that's dead easy to remember. There's a hole drilled in the rim of your wheel to fit the valve through. If it's a really narrow valve hole, it'll only fit this valve. This one won't go through at all. So you just need to make sure. If you've got a fat one, it'll take either valve. Okay, so it doesn't really matter that way. But commonly, you'll quite often find thin ones. So just watch out when you're buying your tubes. So you've got the right size tube and you've got the right kind of valve sorted. Wrap it up and stick it away. Well done. Very quickly, the other thing I've got down there for tubes is tyre levers. Okay, these ones are absolutely brilliant. I thoroughly recommend these. They're pretty bomb proof. They've got a little hook for the spokes, I'll show you later, and the hook there for getting the tyre on and off as well. You only really need two. Okay, sometimes you don't even need any. It depends on your tyre. Okay, so we've got those. And then the last thing is your pump. This pump is a bit fancy. I've put some tape on it, so I've got some gaffer tape for fixing stuff. You can never have too much gaffer tape around. This converts into a kind of track pump. It's a little bit more expensive, but it means I use gravity to push the air into the tyre, and so it means I don't get tired arms when I'm doing this. However, as long as you've got a pump that fits your valve and will fill your tyre. That's all you need to. You don't need to worry about that stuff. So pump, and that's the last of the items that you need to carry with you. What we're going to do now is just run through the easiest way to deal with a puncture, and that being the thing that scares people the most. Before I do that, I'm just going to make sure that we've got a pump that will fit the inner tube. So let's move on to that first. So a word about fit for between your tyre valve and your pump. Now a lot of pumps will have a flexible hose, and these are the easiest ones to use, and a lot will have something that looks a little bit like this at the end to connect it to the valve itself. This one, I don't know whether you can see there, just manual zoom, probably not. This one's got a big hole in it, and this is for the chubby valve. But what if we've got a narrow valve? How do we get it to fit? Well, they're all like this. You should be able to unscrew the end, and that should come off pretty easily. And don't forget, or don't worry, this is designed to do this. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to pull the lever, and you'll see the middle bit, it should slowly come out. There we go. And that should give me enough to give it a good pull and pull the end out. And with it comes a little bit of plastic. There we go. So there's two parts to that. So this was set up like this. So big hole and the sticky outy bit sticking in the back of it, and that went in this way. Now that's set up for the chubby valve. If you've got the right valve for the right connector, you don't need to worry about this, but if you need to swap it over, all you need to do is do this. Turn the two halves over. Done it. Now I've got a small hole and the pointy bit sticking out the back. I'll then push it back into the valve top and screw. Careful not to thread it. Screw the thread back on again, nice and tight, and now my connector will fit the skinny valve. Okay, just one more time. Unscrew the end, pull the lever back, the rubber end comes out, pull it out, get the plastic bit out, turn it over, get it ready for the chubby valve, push it back in, lever down, push it right in, and screw the end on. Simple as that. And they're designed for that, so don't worry about doing that. But ultimately, you make sure before you leave home that your pump will fit your valve. Job's a good one. Cool. So that's the basic tools, and just making sure that your inner tube and your pump will actually work together with each other. And if that's all you need to know, that's cool. What I'm going to move on to now, though, is for those of you that have maybe haven't done it for years, or maybe have never had to deal with a puncture. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly go through changing an inner tube and getting you back on the road again. What I can't do is show you how to take the wheel off your bike, because that can be quite bike specific. So again, you should, if you're buying a bike new, you should get somebody to show you how to take the wheels off, or sit at home and do it in the warm and dry and figure out how to do it. It may need specific tools for that as well. You might need a spanner that fits, so make sure that you find that out first in the warm and dry, and maybe stick a spanner in if necessary into your little toolkit, just to make sure that you've got everything for every eventuality. So let's get cracking with changing an inner tube, dealing with a puncture. So we've got flat tyre rubbish. So we might know why it's flat. Obviously it's got a hole in the inner tube somewhere. There are two main and one supplementary one, which I'll cover in a second, but the two main ones are that we've gone over a square edge and we've compressed the tyre really hard, and what's happened is the tyre itself has pushed the inner tube onto the rim of the wheel, and it's made two little slices in it called snake bites. So that's the first one. The other one is it's a puncture, so it's a thorn or something, a piece of glass or something like that's gone through the tyre. So those are the two main ways it's going to go, and we'll treat them very, very slightly differently. But ultimately, we have a flat tyre, so this is what we're going to do. First up, what I like to do is get any extra air that's left in the tube, get that out, makes it nice and easy to work with.
So that's it, it's completely empty now. Next thing in preparation I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the tyre is as slack as possible on the wheel. Okay, some of these things can be really tight, so we want to make it as easy as possible as we can. So the rim itself is generally slightly concave on the inside, and so if we pinch, you might need to do it one side, and this one I'm lucky enough I can do it on both sides at the same time, but if we can pinch the tyre into the middle of the rim, so there's a space down there, I can get my finger down inside there, there's a nice wee space in there. When we pinch it into there, it makes it slacker because it's into that groove inside of that V. So I'm going to go all the way around there, I'm pinching both sides at the same time and basically pushing the tyre to the middle. And that'll make it as easy as possible when it comes to getting the tyre levers underneath it and starting to get the things off. So that's a good bit of preparation done. Next up, I'm going to take the tyre off. So we're going to start with the valve the other side of the wheel. What I'm going to do is, as you can see there, I'm going to take the curly bit of the tyre lever, I'm going to put it down in between the rim and the tyre itself, try and get it underneath the rim, and it can be a two-handed job. There we go, hooked it underneath the edge of the tyre, and then I'm going to lever it over. Now these ones have got this fancy little hook there, so I can, if I want to leave it there, I can just hook it under a spoke. There we go. I can pick up a second one if I want then, and I can use the two of them together to get a tight tyre off. This one isn't too tight, I know, so what I can do is I can actually use the spokes with my thumb to lever it around as it goes. And once you've got enough off, just a little bit, you can see it's just off from there to there, it should just slide all the way around and pop off. Now this will differ from tyre to tyre and wheel to wheel, and especially road bikes, they could be a little bit tighter than that, but this is a nice fit. Okay, so we've got the tyre off one side, don't need to take the tyre off completely, and we'll pull our punctured inner tube out. Now it won't come out yet because, excuse I, there's a little collar on the valve which we need to take off. So we'll unscrew that. Now there must be millions of these little things on the trails and beside the roads all over the world. So we're going to be careful to try and keep hold of that, and then we're going to pull it the rest of the way out. Give it a wee wrestle. Let's pull that out. There we go. And there we go. Jobs are good. So the tube itself might give us, there's an old patch. The tube itself might give us a clue as to what we're playing with. Basically, what we're going to do in this scenario is we're going to take this old knacker one and we are going to put it in our bag. We're not going to decorate a tree with it, I'll chuck it in the bush. We're going to put it in a bag and take that back with us because we might be able to repair it at home. Plus it's just horrible litter if we leave it around. So we've got rid of that. Now what we want to do is make sure that we're not going to puncture the new inner tube. So this comes really in really handy if you're wearing mountain biking gloves, because you can protect yourself a little bit better. Well, what we're going to do, unless we're totally 100% certain that there is it was caused by a snake bite, then what we're going to do is we're going to run a hand. So I'll put my hand in the glove inside the tyre, and I'm using the back of my hand, and I'm going to run it around and see if it catches on anything sticking out, like a thorn or something like that. Okay. Now the likelihood is it will just catch the material of my glove, and I'll be all right. If it did cut the glove and stick through it, then obviously it's going to stick into the back of my hand, not the fleshy, sensitive bit at the inside of my hand, so I can still ride the bike. So there we go. So I've gone all the way around that, and I've made sure there is nothing sticking through. That way I'm not going to put a nice new tube in and then discover that I've just punctured it. Okay, so that's ready to go. We'll grab a new tube out of our bag, right, old floppy little old tube, and what we need to do is to put a little bit of air into it. So let's get a lamp, put a bit of air in. So putting a little bit of air in makes it easy to work with, and it also gives it a little bit of form as well. In addition, it makes it less likely that you'll accidentally catch it inside the tyre with your tyre lever when you're putting the tyre back on again, and so you're less likely to re-puncture it again, or puncture this new one. Okay, so we've got a partially inflated tube. Then we're going to start at the valve again. So push the tyre back, found the valve hole, stuck the valve through, and then pulled the tyre over the top of it and shove the first bit in. Not all of it, just the first bit. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure, there we go, that that's nice and square. Okay, so my valve there comes straight out of the rim, it doesn't come out squint, and that way it won't get trapped, because I can get, remember I said there was 3 ways you can get, well, that's one of the ways you can get a puncture, because the valve actually comes away, or partially comes away from the tube. There we go, so that's in there, put the collar on, and now all I'm going to do is shove the sweet beastie back in again. There we go. Right, so that's, we've got the inner tube in, and it's partially inflated. And what we're going to do is we're going to push the tyre, or the other side of the tyre, back into the middle again. Obviously if you've got a little bit too much air in there, then it will make that bit a bit tricky, but that's not too bad. Now you bring it round until eventually you've got somewhere up near the top. We've got a little bit of air out because it's getting quite tight, and I don't need air in it at the moment. There we go, still some, so it's still protected. And we'll get to this point here where we've got most of it on, but there's a little bit left overhanging. Tyre lever off the floor again. There, so before I used it like a hook to hook the tyre off the rim. And what we're going to do this time is I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to put it up underneath the rim, like that. And what I'm going to do is, in this strip here that's off, I'm going to hold tight to one end so it doesn't pop off, and the other end near that end, I'm going to get it up there, and then I'm going to lever that bit of the tyre over the top. And if I'm lucky like this, a good fit, just put it over, and that is now on. One thing I didn't say there is when I was fill it in there, I'm just making sure that I hadn't got inner tube between the tyre lever and the rim, because that'll puncture it as well. So that's it. Inner tube back in again, mostly deflated, so all I need to do on the pom-pom, bump it back up again. As fascinating as it is, I'm sure you don't really need to watch me do that. So we'll leave it there. Put it back on the bike. Make sure your brakes are working.
So that's it. So your basic set of tools. You can now adjust things. And there's lots of videos on YouTube about how to adjust brakes and gears and things like that. I'm more than happy to do anything specific to your bikes as well if you get in touch. You can adjust things because you've got your multi-tool, which will cover most things. And you can deal with getting a puncture as well, and do it with the easy way, which is just replacing the inner tube. Have a couple of inner tubes spare at home for that kind of thing. There are other things you can get to add to that basic repair kit, and as I said before, spanners specifically for getting your wheels off. If you need a spanner to get them off, a lot of them will be quick release, and that doesn't take any tools, which is great. You can also get patches for tyres as well, and I can maybe do that at another time if people are interested. But for now, that's it. Thanks very much for watching. If that was of any use to you, please send me a message, let me know what was useful. If you want something else covered, also send me a message via YouTube for the messages, or get in touch with via Facebook as well. We mix stuff around, so there's some gnarly mountain biking stuff, but we also cover everything right back from basic beginner stuff. And if you don't want to go on a mountain bike but you want to cycle your bike, we're totally behind you, and we want to help you out with that as well. So just get in touch. Thanks very much for watching, and maybe see you another time. Bye bye.